The Audit Service Sierra Leone has officially submitted its 2023 Auditor General's annual report on the accounts of Sierra Leone to Parliament, and Parliament is currently looking at the report. The report, covering the fiscal year that ended on 31st December 2023, and reveals that over 233 billion leones is unaccounted for by the BO-led administration. In the studio to talk more on this and review the work of the Audit Service Sierra Leone, we have Morie Lansana, who's the Acting Deputy Auditor General. Good morning, Morie. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's clarify, the 233 billion, is it old leones or new leones?
New leones.
Oh, okay, good. Take us through the auditing process itself. Let's start from the process, the procedure of auditing, because we had few institutions come to argue that what is put out in the Auditor General's report isn't a full reflection of their activities in their institutions. That even yesterday we had the Sierra Leone, the Inspector General of the Sierra Leone Police saying there was a back and forth, they submitted some documents and so on and so on. So let's start with the baseline by understanding the process of the auditing.
Thank you very much. Every year before the year ends, we meet as an institution. We have a lot of clients, over 3,000–4,000 clients in Sierra Leone. When I talk of clients, those institutions that are mandated to be audited. This includes the university, the educational institution, the local government administrations, ministries, departments, and agencies, or any other institution that has been created by an act of parliament. So that's our portfolio. But the manpower of Audit Service Sierra Leone cannot cover all of these institutions at a go. So year in, year out, we have to sit and plan. We adopt an audit method we call risk-based. So it means we look at risk factors, and these are the things that guide us in selecting which institutions to audit within a particular financial year. What are some of the things that we consider to select an institution for auditing within a particular financial year? Number one, government interest. Two, the people's interest. Number three, the donor interest. Number four, the revenue generating power of the institution. Number five, the budgetary allocation that is allocated to the entity. And then there are some institutions, if you have not audited them for a year or two, we look at the last year being audited, because they cannot go for long without being audited. So these are the factors that we consider. So if you see institution being audited within a particular year, these are the things that we look at. If you fall within this bracket, then it means you have to be audited. If you are in all of them, the year in, year out, we have to look at them. Now, when we want to go into an institution, what do? We first send what we call engagement letter. We communicate our intention that we are coming. And in this engagement letter, we spell out what is our mandate based on the provision in our laws, the Constitution, the Public Financial Management Act, and the Audit Service Act, and the objective of the audit. We clearly spell out the scope of the audit. And then the responsibility, if we are in there, depending on the type of audit that we intend to do, the objective will be clear to them. And then we also highlight the responsibility of management, because as far as we are concerned, and based on the PFM landscape within Sierra Leone, management is charged with the responsibility of internal controls. They are charged with the responsibility of maintaining the records that they think they can be maintained based on the requirements of what has been received by them and what they utilize the monies for, or what the offices that they occupy is being established for. So it's not just about money, it's also about performance. And then we will tell them to sign the engagement letter and send a copy that they agree with the arrangement. So it's like a social contract between us and the client. Once they sign and they return the engagement, then by the stated time we'll go into the institution. What do? The entrance meeting, the first day of meeting the institution. We have to get all of their players together, key players within the institution, starting from the head of the institution and other players, those that are charged with the management of the institution. What do we do in that meeting? We try now to explain to them what is on paper. Is what we now go further to explain to them, introduce the team to them, and tell them that this is the intention of government that has been created. When I say of government, the Constitution is very clear that we have to audit you. It is not a personal thing. It is not something that somebody has told us to come and do. It is there to help you. So we need your cooperation. And in that meeting, we also communicate to them what are the things that we may need. The one requirement that they have to do is to provide an accommodation for us. And we also ask them in that meeting if they have any other thing, any other challenges that can create difference in what we intend to do at that particular point. Probably they have some other assignment that they want to do that will create a difference. And let me tell you, Phoebia, there are instances when we even send the engagement letter to some institution, they will write and say, no, the date you slated on the engagement is not comfortable to us. We want you to extend this date to another date. So there is this back and forth. Once we enter into the institution, we need to understand the operation of the institution. We are not managing the institution. We are only going in to assess a system. So they know what they do in there. They know what is their mechanism. They know what is their setup, their management structure. We need to understand that. Why do we do that? So that we can factor our risk into a category that we cannot use resources. Mind you, we are only going there for a very short period, so we cannot be there forever. We have a start date and an end date. So we put our resources where we think the risks are low. But where risks are high, then we need to focus there more. So less resources is put where risks are low, but where risks are high, they will put in more. That is where we think, based on the interaction we may have had with the institution, there are weaknesses. That is the area that we need to strengthen. So that those are the areas to focus. So it therefore means that in as much as an institution may have done 10,000 transactions in a year, we may not be in a position to look at all 10,000 transactions. We sample the transaction. And after the interview, understanding the entity, well, this understanding may be talking to you, this understanding may be looking at website, if website, this understanding may even be talking to other institutions that have business with you, just for us to understand the operations that you do. Once that is done, we now start to gather evidence. That is what we call the execution phase of the audit. This is where we now ask you, maybe Phoebia, you will have explained to us that in the morning, when I come in the morning, the first thing I do, I have a cup of tea on my table. That is your system. So when I start to gather evidence, I will now want to see what is the evidence that every morning you have a cup of tea. Is there a log? Is there somebody that supplies? So these are the things that you do. These are the areas when we request for documents, we review documents. That is the evidence gathering. And in gathering the evidence, we are guided by something, because at the end of the day, we have to produce an audit report. What guides us in doing this is the provision in the Constitution. Section 119 subsection 4 says the Auditor General must submit a report to Parliament. This is what he has done. But what should be contained in that report? And that is what is in our mind each time we enter into an institution. Irregularities that may have come to the attention of the Auditor General. So whilst we are doing the review in institution, where we are doing well, we just say kudos to you, continue the good work. But where there are deviations, which we consider irregularities, then we have to engage you. First, we bring it to your attention that you've not done well in this area. Why? The why question always comes. You need to tell us. We cannot preempt for you. We cannot assume for you. You need to explain your situation to us. Why? Why have you not done A, B, C, D, E? For example, if you've done expenditure without documentation, upon observation, initial observation, the auditor will now take this to you. We've observed that expenditure A has been done without document. Why? If there are successful explanation, convincing explanation, and those explanations meets the audit objective set, and we are convinced that yes, indeed, you did it for the intended purpose, we have no problem with you.
So there's that process of back and forth to confirm before a report.
Oh yes, I'm coming with you. So you need to understand, when we land there, we take it from there. Once those processes are done, for those that are satisfactorily explained, then we have no problem with you. Where in the course of those processes you have failed to comply with then what do? We put it on a paper in the form of audit query. That query is communicated to the client or the responsible officer. That is, if we are dealing with you and the management of AYV, is you that you communicate that observation to. But we copy your boss. Why do we copy your boss? So that your boss will do a follow-up on the issue that you are not doing well in this institution. Now, when they fail to do all this, at the end of the day, we move from the institution. When we are coming, we have an entrance meeting. When we are moving out of the institution, we have an exit meeting. This is where everybody now sits, and we communicate the outstanding issues to them again. Then we leave the premise.
Is that the case for all institutions?
This is the process that we follow for every institution. When we leave your premise, all of those outstanding issues that in the course of discussion you fail to address them, in the course of audit query you fail to address them, those are the things that we put together and communicate to you a formal report called draft management letter. By the law, that is the provision in the Public Financial Management Act. Upon receipt of a draft report, you have 15 days to respond to them. We send a draft, as the name implies, draft. This draft contains the observations that we made that you fail to address, the implication on the institution, and if there are criteria set that you fail to comply with, we mention it, and we make recommendation. So we tell them what to do to address the issue in the draft report, and who should address it, the responsible officers. Then you respond to us. That is management now saying formal response that, oh, okay, based on what you said, yes, it is true, or you have the option to even deny. It's up to you, because it is draft. So the draft is where we have the back and forth. They will communicate to us. If they fail to communicate to us, we write for withholding of their salary as per law. But when you communicate, we don't stop there. In fact, I want to tell viewers that Audit Service Sierra Leone is the only supreme audit institution in Sierra Leone where we communicate draft report to clients, they respond to the draft, and we go in again. So that's the next phase. So when they respond, we go in. That was introduced for administrative convenience to suit our own situation here. So we'll go in again, validate the responses that you've submitted, and then produce a verification report. This verification report is signed by vote controllers. The verification report will explain, yes, this was what we found out initially, this is what you've said, this is our conclusion on what you've said. And the conclusion rests on what? The effective implementation of the recommendation. So some of the conclusion will be, you've partly addressed our issue, or you failed to address our issue, or you fully address the recommendation. So for those areas where the recommendation have been fully addressed, we have no problem with. They are not in the Auditor General's report. But where recommendations have not been fully addressed, or they have not been addressed at all, those are the issues that are consolidated and brought in. So this is the process. Now, after the verification report, we now communicate a final management letter to you to tell the story. Once the final management letter is communicated, we copy other institutions for them to know that this is what the conclusion. So this is the process we take. And the outstanding issues in the final management letter, after going through all these processes, is what comes into the Auditor General's annual report. So it's not just a one-day thing or a one-minute thing. No, the least institution, when you talk of a primary school, that is the least institution we consider in our portfolio. We spend nothing less than 3 months in doing the audit work. And in each of the phases that I've explained, there are reviews that take place. That is the field soldiers that are our asset, the biggest asset that we have, our staff. They go out in the field. When they complete every phase of the audit, they come to the office, to the supervisor. The supervisors have to look at it, verify it, validate it, that what they brought is correct before the next phase is. So this is what we do.
Morie, this now becomes very perhaps confusing, for maybe lack of a better way to put it. Just yesterday, we had the Inspector General of Police. He's seated right where you're sitting now, and he said there was a mistake somewhere, that the Sierra Leone Police, under his leadership, have not been, guilty of what the Audit Service Sierra Leone captures. And he said that that engagement is ongoing, and that some people even at Audit Service are furious for that error, because they had provided all the information you need to clarify that his institution should not be put in the report as it was. What do you think went wrong? Why is the IG saying you have submitted a report that does not fully reflect his institution?
Well, probably he will be in a better position. That's what he said. But I'm not surprised when audit report comes out. I've been in this game for quite some time. We only heard of stories when the report comes out, but these stories are not told when the audit process is ongoing. Even if it is me, Fibian, we know how it is when you hold public office, and the things that you do in public offices are not known to the public most times. So, but we are there to add value. So when we communicate, the report is a public document. It goes into the hands of whoever, only God knows, and everybody uses it for different purposes. So it is but necessary when it comes out, and people, even if it is me, I will bring defense. But however, the conclusion that we give in every audit exercise is not what we think. What guides in arriving at those conclusions is the evidences that we have. So we may have had several engagements with you, but if the audit objective that was said, the evidence are not there to ensure that those objectives have been achieved, then definitely those are the issues that comes out. But nothing stops anybody or any institution when you receive the final management letter to an audit report. I have explained the processes. even after those processes and you receive the final management letter to an audit process, and you have issues that you think you've addressed, but those issues are still in the audit report, nothing stops you from getting to the Auditor General and say, no, I disagree with you, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G was done, but they are still outstanding in the audit report. Nothing stops you from doing that.
Have you had instances of...
We have had instances where we even send communications to people and they say, no, we gave this information that we gave, but it is not correct. That is on their own understanding. Then the Auditor General will say, okay, come over. They will come and they will analyze the information to them in another way, in a more simpler way for them to say, oh, okay, now I see. So don't assume for auditors, because the objectives are set and those objectives are communicated. Once you comply with them, we have nothing absolutely against anybody to conclude on something that you've successfully addressed to
Morie, aside compliance audits, what sort of other audits that is being embarked on by the audit service Leone in their investigation into these irregularities concerning monies being spent?
Thank you very much. We do financial audits. That's what is being done on the government system. In fact, the Auditor General's report that actually comes out, that is the constitutional requirement. Because at the end of the 3 months after the end of a subsequent year, the Accountant General will submit the financial statement of government to the Auditor General. So meaning for 2024, we are expecting that in 2025 on or before 31st of March. So we do financial audit, and the objective for each of these audits are different. For the financial audit that is being carried out, the objective is to express an opinion on the financial statement that is being submitted. Now, the opinion that I'm talking about is the position of the Auditor General on those financial statements so submitted, as to whether they give a true and a fair view of the activities that may have taken place in the course of a particular financial year or particular period. Now, for the government of Sierra Leone account this year, the Auditor General give a very clear opinion, meaning that the opinion that was submitted was good, a satisfactory opinion. Now, the AG can express a satisfactory opinion or not satisfactory, so it's a two-way process. You can either do good, present a very good financial statement based on the opinion that you will give you, or not. It's like a penalty kick. You either score or you miss. Nothing more, nothing less. Then we can also do performance auditing. In fact, our AG always said, and the standards that guides the job now that we do in most of the areas, that is the new trend of the audit, that is the new area. Because when you look at compliance audit, look at financial audit, we call them traditional audit. They are the first type of audit that have been in existence. But for these ones, performance auditing, these are the new areas, the new boys coming on board. So performance auditing, as the name implies, it goes beyond just looking at the figures. It now goes beyond looking at impact. Is that clear? So we have people talk of the 3 E's. Initially, that was what was said. 3 E's in the performance audit. They look at economy, they look at efficiency, they look at effectiveness. So even the money that you spend, performance auditors will say, the financial auditor will say, I spent 10,000 to buy a bottle of water. Good. The documents are there. Compliance audit, do you comply with all the requirements that you follow procedure, approval, and the documents are there? Compliance audit, the documents are there. Performance auditor will tell you, no. I will still go further and check whether the bottle of water is actually equivalent to 10,000. By doing so many analyses, they will check analysis within Sierra Leone, check analysis elsewhere, look at so many other factors for this one bottle of water that you said you've paid 10,000 yuan for. And then effectiveness. Was it used for the intended purpose? You are buying this water for what? For Mr. Lansana to take. Is the water comfortable for Mr. Lansana? But aside from the 3 E's, we've also introduced, based on the requirement and the trend of things, within the global trend of things now, we've also introduced another 2 E's. Equity, leaving no one behind, and then the environment. So environmental issue is a global issue, so environment. So in the performance audit work, they don't just look at the economy, efficiency, and effectiveness now. They now go beyond to look at equity, that nobody was left behind, and then environment, what is the environmental impact on every operations that they do. That is for performance audit. And we also have other specialized audits that are being done. For one, example number one is extractive industry. We know that Sierra Leone is a signatory to the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, global. And with that, to know the extractive sector looks at the revenue, mining revenue. And for these, there are certain requirements, there are standard sets for each that governs the operations of this within the country. So these are audits that we also do. We also do environmental audits. We have been supported by the EU, want to say thanks to the European Union in capacity building.
Because I wanted to ask that question, whether the
the support is coming. We are having support.
Whether the audit service alone has the required capacity to handle these upcoming these areas, these emerging areas, of course, that are showing up now in the audit.
Definitely, we have capacity. In fact, this is not the first time audit service stood out. In doing some audit that was a competitive audit, competitive in the sense we are competing with 52 other countries in Africa and outside Africa, and audit services alone happened to emerge in one of the audits that was done on local government, that is on environmental impact on the operation of local councils. So, and that was tested on the both city councils. So, imagine issues, yes, imagine issues that are coming up. We build capacity. The capacity building goes into various phases. One, internally, based on the budgetary allocation that we receive from government and the audit fees that are paid to us, we focus them on capacity. So capacity buildings are ongoing. So that is the internal. Then external parties also. The European Union, the World Bank, they come on board to give capacity based on the requirements as and when audit service communications requirement to them. And also, like the Global Fund deals with malaria, TB, and HIV. They have their own requirements. These are donor areas that we enter into. Prior to this period, we are only doing about 3-4 donor projects. But now, based on the outcome, because we have some capacity in those areas and we engage in those audits, based on the outcome of those exercises, they are now demanding that to do all of their projects. They are just coming. It's like manners from heaven. The request coming. And mind you, all of these are not just Sierra Leone, because when they deal with the global. When I say global, the Supreme Audit Institution is not just a Sierra Leone. They are global institutions. So when they are engaging, they engage globally, and then based on your own output, based on your own performance, they can now draw you closer. Of recent, Senegal Global Fund, the only Supreme Audit Institution when the world support for Global Fund activities, they had an engagement in Senegal, a 2-day engagement in Senegal. The only Supreme Audit Institution that was invited in that engagement was Audit Service Sierra Leone, because of the performance over the period in giving support to their project. If our project that guides agricultural, support agricultural activities, is also in Sierra Leone. In other countries, these are audits that are no-go areas for the Supreme Audit Institution. That is, they have other institutions coming from abroad to come and look into them. But for Sierra Leone case, no, it is the Audit Service Sierra Leone. In fact, the momentum is being accelerated on a day-to-day basis with regards demand. How we wish there would have been more staff capacity. Probably government-owned institution will have been something else. Will have been focusing on those. So those are the types of audit. In addition, the government accounting system is IT-based. So we also have a unit called the IS audit. So we also do information system audit, and all of the support when you talk of technical capacity are coming as a result of support either from government directly or support that we receive from our donor partners.
How does the audit service alone deals with matters arising from third-party documents, documentation, confirmation, so to speak?
Well, third-party documentation confirmation is a situation that arises. It's not like you have to. If you think you have to, then you have to. But there are procedures, there are guidelines that you have to follow. The standard is very clear as to what guides. The good thing about the audit
are they just standards limited to Sierra Leone, or is it standards that cut across?
No, the job that you do, audit service job that you do, these are international best standards. They are international best standards. But the Sierra Leone, what we'll be doing over the years, and that is the norm, because when we receive these standards, when they come, you look at the context in which you operate and see how best you can make it more lively. More lively in the sense how best you can make it more efficient and effective in your own jurisdiction. For example, I told you of the audit process that we do, and the process that we do, I said verification. In other jurisdictions, when you go there, if you are talking about audit matter, they will not tell you of verification. Probably they tell you of verification a site visit, but not an audit response that you receive, and then they have time again to go there, to waste time, to waste resources, to start talking to you again. They stop at, you bring the issue, they put the issue, and that's the end. But for our own processes, The processes are very easy with third-party verification. If we are working with you, we want to go to Mr. X to verify. In the first place, we have to communicate what has happened. We are not comfortable and going to Mr. X. You have to be in the known. That's the practices that is in our jurisdiction, and that is what is required to be done.
Morie, annually, what does the audit service Sierra Leone spend doing audit work?
Annually, how I wish my director of finance would have been here, but it's a lot of resources. And that's the more reason why we get mad at institution. When we go there, we spend so much time only for the audit report to come out and people start bringing explanation. We go there, documents are not there, and only when the report is now out, you see people bringing, when the media covers it, or when they are called to parliament, or when ECC calls them and they start bringing. We are spending taxpayers' money, all of us are money, because the money we receive at audit service are taxpayers' money. So if my director of finance was here, that would have been easier. That is just a click of a button, will have given you how much we spend on an audit. But I want to tell you that for every audit we spend a lot of money, because it requires resources. And when we talk of resources, there are certain institutions that we go there, we have to do verification. DSAs are paid to staff depending on the number of staff. We need equipment like the laptops. They need the laptops. They need scanners. They need printers. In all of these, we need vehicles. So all of these are things that we factor for just an audit. So it's a lot of money. That's, to be honest with you, it's a huge chunk of money just for an audit. So if you multiply that by the number of audits that is being done within a year, it's a lot of money.
Who audits the audit service Sierra Leone?
Parliament. The law is clear, the constitution makes it. Audit service Sierra Leone is a public office like any other public offices. Like any other public office. We just stand out as an oversight body with a constitutional mandate to do what we do. Now, in doing this, then the issue of who now look at you. So the constitution, the provision in the constitution is that the same period, by 3 months after the end of the subsequent financial year, 31st of March, or not before 31st of March, audit service will prepare a financial statement and submit that financial statement to Parliament. Parliament will now look at, for somebody, an auditor, to now do the audit of audit service Sierra Leone. But the good thing about our own job is that since the creation of audit service Sierra Leone in August 2004 to date, our audited financial statements are public document. They are on our website.
Assess the institutions that you audit. Which one would you say puts out to the audit service Sierra Leone best performance in terms of compliance, and which one gives you the most challenges? I wouldn't say maybe the worst performance, but the most difficult challenges.
That's a very good question. Probably by next year, we'll be in a position to be talking of those issues, because the joy we have in assessing institution lies in the recommendations that are made. Most times people will ask, why is this institution not in the Auditor General's annual report? Why is this institution not in the Auditor General? Some are actually audited in the course of the year, but you don't hear about them because you raise issues with them and those issues are cleared. For audit service radios, like for audit service radio this year, the auditor came, they look at it, and they write certificates. These issues are cleared. But those have not been practices like in Sierra Leone. But we are considering having those practices where at the end of the year, we can actually say, or over a period of time, we can actually say institution A has been doing well. Because the nature of job that we do will not give you a clear clue as to who is standing out. Because what we expect for every institution, if we are in compliance with everything, because in the PFM landscape that guides public offices, you have all the requirements that you have to follow in doing whatever activity. It is not your personal activity, it is the public activity. So you have all that it takes for you to do. So when you are in violation of one, maybe at the initial stage, we are not happy about it. We are expecting that at any point in time, people should be up there. It is not like those people in the old days wherein they never have Bible or Quran before Bible came or Quran came. But for those of us who have now come after Bible and Quran, if you see yourself in heaven or in hell, it may have been as a result of your action or non-action. So We are trying to introduce a follow-up mechanism where we start following up and actually producing a stand-alone follow-up report on the Auditor General's report that have been issued. Once that is done, there will be in a position, because the performance of institutions are actually measured based on the actions they take on the audit recommendations that are made. If we raise 30 issues with you and you address all of those 30, we give kudos to you.
Morie, there is a very worrying precedence in country that relates to your former boss and one of the deputies in the audit service, Sierra Leone. Does that negate the very essence of sections 119, subsection 6 of the Constitution that gives the audit service Sierra Leone the powers to, of course, investigate public offices without dictates of any one or whatsoever? Does that negate the very essence of that section?
You made a reference to a provision in the Constitution, so 119 subsection, and that talks of independence. For the time I've been in audit service Sierra Leone, I've enjoyed that one. I've been in audit service Sierra Leone since its establishment. I've enjoyed the independence of the audit service Sierra Leone. How? The provision in the 1991 Constitution is very clear as to giving direction as to the work of the Auditor General, and that direction actually rests with the job that you do, the audit work that you do. The audit work that you do over the period I've stayed in audit service, those that are known to me, if they are not known to me, I have no problem. Those that are known to me, we are not under the direction of anybody. We plan our job, we do our job without anybody saying, don't do it. That's the independence that the 1991 Constitution, section 119, subsection 6 is talking about. Very clear. We have a board, which is an advisory board. What do? They are charged with the responsibility of recruiting staff and setting the terms and conditions of those staff, and what their disciplinary actions they take. Probably where the independence we have issue with, and we are still in talk with government, is the aspect of financing, budgets, because we are the Ministry of Finance and we all rely on the same coffer. Probably somebody will be somewhere, how can you audit your payer, your master? But the provision is very clear on those audits, because we'll be auditing them year in, year out. But we've also revised the Audit Service Act of 2014, and hopefully this year we will start exercising the provision that is in there. The revised act was done in 2023, and the aspect that is key is with regard to financial autonomy, because best practices and also donors are of the view that we are doing work, we are doing commendable job, but we can do more if we now have our financial independence. We are in at the start of the year, we have, look at your money, go and do whatever you want to do, and you report to us what you spend the money on. But regards the job that you do, nobody, even the staff that you send out in the field, when they do work, they bring it to you for review. They have done their job, they have the evidences. You are not there as supervisor. I sit in the office and I send them, I've given them guidance and direction, and they go out in the field. After the exercise, this is the internal process. After the exercise, they bring out their outcome, that is their audit findings. After review, if those findings are not in line with ASSS standards and nothing additional can be done, if I want them to take those findings out, it has to be agreed. We have to discuss it. I will give reasons as to why those findings should not find their way into the Auditor General's report or into the management letter or even as an audit query. So for independence, we are enjoying it. And you will hear, I will come to this place if our independence is tampered with, I will resign. That I will tell you for free. Because this is the only way we add value to Sierra Leone. This is the only country that we have, and that's the only way we add value to Sierra Leone.
Lansana, my question was a clear reference to what happened with your former boss, Lara Taylor-Pearce, and that of Tamba Momoh. Does that action negate the very essence of sections 119, subsection 6 that talks specifically on
That's what I have explained. That's what I have explained. As far as
does it place you in a war institution as an auditor?
No. We listen, I think the job, that's what I've explained. The job that we are doing, I am doing at Audit Service Sierra Leone. And even now that we are doing at Audit Service Sierra Leone, nobody has interfered with it. That's the aspect that I've explained. With regards what happened with my former boss and his deputy, I think we all know we are aware this were something that was done within the government. How I wish a government officer would have been here and then they will be in a better position.
But you're a professional auditor.
Yes, I am. So that's why I suppose
you're a professional auditor.
Very well, very well. That's why I have said the job that we do at Audit Service Sierra Leone, our independence is still intact. Nobody whatsoever, even after from 2021, 2022 to date, nobody has directed us as to what to do. Nobody whatsoever. That's what I'm emphasizing on. Because the essence of Section 119 subsection 6 talks about the independence of the Auditor General. In doing the work, the Auditor General should not be under the direction of anybody. Telling you, no, you have to go this way, bend left, bend right, like a military command. Nobody has done that. So that's the same thing that I'm communicating to you.
Morie, you are first an auditor. Second, you work with the Audit Service Sierra Leone. What's your professional analysis or perspective of what happened with the former Auditor General and her deputy?
Well, we all know it was in this room. They say, I think the same position that I had of a report when I told your guys that I have not seen a report on. But what happened, there was an issue and it was raised by government. There was an investigation, an open investigation. I never attended it, but we all know it was live broadcast. We witnessed it. And then at the end of the day, there was a conclusion. How I wish those within that realm of government operations, of public operations, will have been here to tell you. But on the impact of what happened, in fact, when we look at the report, what we learned from there is that in the course of our job, we too are public officers. So you have to be very careful. What I learned, what I personally learned, that in the course of what I do, I have to be very careful that there are people watching me. That one day somebody somewhere will raise questions on accountability around my job. That is what I have personally learned from all the process. But getting to the analysis, professional analysis of what was done, I think you must try as much as possible to get the appropriate government official to sit in this place. And
we've had them.
Oh, so.
And since you're an auditor, we wanted to hear your perspective.
My perspective is I'm still very much my focus on the ball, and the ball here is Section 119 subsection 6, the independence that I do.
Yeah, we've moved away from the independence. Now we're getting your professional analysis.
That's my professional analysis. That's my personal. Is the report is a public report. It's a public report, and as public official, all what I learned from the hearing, personally, this is my personal view, this is not the view of Audit Service Sierra Leone, is that I have to know that the office I occupy is a public office, and that it's not just about me, it's about the people. So that whatever I do, there is somebody somewhere that is looking at it, and that I have to be heard.
Are you convinced they carried out any professional misconduct?
Who?
Lara Taylor-Pearce and Tamba Momoh.
Who is me to conclude on that?
Interesting. You are an
professional
auditor.
auditor.
Yeah. No, but
who understands the procedure and standards of the work?
Fine. My conclusion on what the discussion that we are having here is based squarely on what is before. As auditor, we rely on evidence. What was before me? I was in Audit Service Sierra Leone. I never knew of anything of this nature. I think as Sierra Leonean, I know about it in this room. I'm still emphasizing. I knew about it in this room. When I visited this room, that was when I heard about it. And since then, it is as I only know about what was happening or what has happened or what has transpired based on what was said. So is
that the standard in your office? Were you all as a team supposed to be aware of that process?
Which process?
You said you were not aware. You only got to know when you got to our studio.
The outcome of the report that you are talking about. You are talking about a report, a conclusion that has taken place on an investigation. My former boss and deputy, no? Right?
So what did you know only when you got to the studio? Is it that there was an investigation into the office of the president on alleged fake receipts, or the tribunal's report? What are you referring to that you only got to know when you got to our studio?
Even the reason for suspension. That I want to tell you, because I can still remember we are on the Auditor General's annual report, and she was with us that morning. Both of them were with us that morning. But then later, they said they've suspended. Nothing. So when I say I know, if I know, I will have explained to you here. At least I was not part of top management, but I was part of management. But I think I reiterated that in this place. So that's my personal view. Not the view of Audit Service Sierra Leone, because I'm here and you are making some personal.
For your personal
my personal
opinion.
view, not the view of Audit Service Sierra Leone.
As an auditor, does it make you worry seeing a precedent of such nature has been set within?
Two things makes me worry. Two things makes me worry since I've joined Audit Service Sierra Leone. Just two things. Two things makes me worry. Number one is when people fail to act on our recommendations. Because I know the impact it will have on me. If not me now, probably I will jump it, but my children or my people in my last village. Number two, if the job that I enjoy doing is being tampered with, that makes me worried. How? If there is a breach in the provision in section 119 subsection 6 that limits me to do an audit investigation on an entity, then that makes me worry. So those are the only two things. Nothing more, nothing less.
We would factor in the opinion and submissions of our viewers from our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Swissman says, even the audit service needs someone to audit them because they might forget to audit properly, and sometimes they might produce improper report on certain transactions that should not be leaked out, as we know Sierra Leone is a country where people are appointing those who protect their interest instead of working on loyalty. I remember the audit report always creates confused feelings between the Auditor General and the government, and we want that to stop. We want the audit service to operate on its own ways without the control of government, as we know the audit service and the Anti-Corruption Commission are the backbones of the country, and they should be independent if we want to be successful as a nation.
Mystic Dwazak says, checking the analysis is good because it will promote transparency. Just that Audit Service Sierra Leone gives out recommendations annually. But most of the ministries, departments and agencies are not complying with those recommendations by repeating the same thing, which is not good for the growth of our country.
Hosam Conte says, Audit Service Sierra Leone has proven the highest quality of service to the people of Sierra Leone in line of credible accountability and in accordance with international standards that other countries even learn from Audit Service Sierra Leone. Kudos to Audit Service Sierra Leone in the current government.
Swissman says, wonders shall never end. If the man in the studio is saying that Parliament is the department that has the responsibility to audit the Audit Service Sierra Leone, my question is, if the government is found on corruption, how can the public expect Parliament to judge the government or some senior members in the government? For me, I think it makes no sense for Parliament to audit the Audit Service Sierra Leone, because Parliament will always protect their interests. There will be no independent performance. Let's take a look at what happened, because the former Auditor General and the government, after all the time the woman have spent to protect her job over the year, when she went to do something right, the government looks out for a simple way to discharge her from her responsibilities. And after her dismissal, nothing has come out of it. I was expecting someone to tell us that the FBI will be the special department to audit the Audit Service Sierra Leone. But since it's Parliament, that's responsibility for the auditing. This one is not clear.
Hosam Contest says, Mr. Morie Lansana is well groomed in the audit service operations, a gentleman that I have long since whilst working in Bo, Kenema, and now at Audit Service Headquarters as Acting Deputy Auditor General. This is huge. Success on his part in diligently serving the people of Sierra Leone. Keep up the good work, Mr. Morie Lansana.
Bashiru Lokisin Mustafa Felawa says, remember what goes around surely comes around. Today is your boss, tomorrow might be you. Think about it and work for the people, not for the president.
Noah Kwame Lanyo says, I am watching from Ghana. I believe in the man sitting in your studios. He has been fair to the audit service. Morie, can we have your response to these messages?
Yeah, thank you very much. All I could say to the people of Sierra Leone is that Audit Service Sierra Leone is everybody's business. This is not for one person. This is not just for government. It's for everybody. We are the guardians of Sierra Leone economic security, meaning, quote unquote, now we the Kumbra Sierra Leone economy. And as a Kumbra, you have to embrace all your children. Needs to create impact. It needs to create impact in the lives of Sierra Leoneans. And as public officers, I think that's what we've existed to do. To your first point, to ask, Parliament auditing Audit Service Sierra Leone, the law is we submit the financial statement to Parliament, not Parliament physically coming to submit, but they will now appoint auditors to audit Audit Service Sierra Leone. So it's not Parliament coming to audit. So that's how it goes. Parliament will appoint auditors to audit Audit Service Sierra Leone. The other concerns that people have raised, of course, is for everybody, is for all public officials that we work for and on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone, and we should just be diligent and dedicated to deliver those services. And that's the more reason when I looked at your headlines, 230 billion, the 230 billion are what we call the quick fix. But the focus of audit exercise is on service delivery. The services that are to be delivered to the people is more important than any other thing. So somebody may want to know what has happened with the 230 million, or what will have happened to the 230 million. It was not going to be a money that was given to you to go and put it in your pocket. No, it was going to be monies that could have been used for services for Sierra Leoneans. That should be the concern of all of us. If you look deep into the report, you look at, like, take the health sector, for example. When you look at the reports, year in, year out, we highlight very key salient issues on the health sector. What have we done towards it? What are our stakeholders doing towards it in addressing those issues? Fabian, you may have the resources, you are in Freetown, you may have the resources, probably if something happens, they say, go to Ghana, you go to Ghana. But maybe I cannot. And if the health sector is that much bad, and something happens, then the effect is on me. Look at the agriculture sector. Tractors were highlighted. These machinery services, they were given to people for them to render services to people. And issues. So audit issues, when we raise them, we are not raising them to give problem to anybody. Audit issues are raised to add value. This is part of the accountability process. When we talk of good governance, auditing is key. Auditing is an umbrella. It is the seal of good governance. Because for every offices that you occupy, people need to give account of their stewardship. And that is just what audit does. So please, 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 my people, we are begging, because we continue to beg. Somebody will say you don't need to beg Sierra Leoneans. No, we have to beg them, because their action or inactions will affect us as citizens. And the picture, the bigger thing that we look at is the picture that Sierra Leone is always placed in. People should know that the report that we produce yearly is not just being used by Sierra Leoneans. It is a public document. And we all know our government move year in, year out to other jurisdiction asking for help, asking for support. We hear today that World Bank have helped Audit Service, government of Sierra Leone with this, IMF have helped government of Sierra Leone with this, ADB with this. All of those monies are coming in for a purpose, for these monies to be used for and on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone. If audit report is being put out, we raise issues and nothing is being done about it, and audit report is being put out that portray an image that is not too good, it impacts on Sierra Leone. It limits certain support that comes to the people of Sierra Leone.
Morie, every year with the audit report, it goes beyond just what your findings are, you also put recommendations. But there are certain institutions that do not act upon those recommendations. Is there a penalty for that?
Well, a system has been established. In fact, just to whet your appetite, that was the more reason why we had an MOU with Anti-Corruption Commission. Because everybody will be our witness that for a long period, this has been the cry of Sierra Leoneans, that notice be done about audit report, notice be done about audit. It was on those premises that we signed an MOU with the anti-corruption, because they have the mandate that they had then. But the owners of the job that we do is Parliament, because the law is very clear that when we report, we send the report to Parliament. It is Parliament that will look into a report and then take action. But in the Public Financial Management Act and in the 1991 Constitution, there is a provision for disallowance and surcharge. The Auditor General has that power. So instead of waiting until the report gets to Parliament, but if in the course of the job something is done that is actually contrary to what is the intent of the PFM within the country set up, then the Auditor General should take quick action. It's what we call quick fix action. You surcharge or you disallow, meaning you can say this expenditure is unacceptable and then you enforce the recovery of shares. But that is the law. How do we go about it? Having a regulation was key, and we are now in the advanced stage of that regulation. As I speak, a draft of that regulation is now tabled in Parliament. They are looking at it. Once that is finalized, all of these are just geared towards ensuring action on audit recommendation. But number two, the Ministry of Finance, in collaboration with Anti-Corruption, Parliament, Audit Service, and other stakeholders. Remember, we have the Internal Audit Unit in the Ministry of Finance, the Director of Internal Audit in the Ministry of Finance. And this was donor requirement as well, that notice being done on audit recommendation. In 2021, they developed the Standard Operating Procedures, SOP. And that SOP is there on paper. So, but we have now got into, because all of those processes have now passed, we are now in 2024. So we hope that they should start taking action, because in that SOP, you have actions that can be administrative, because if you're having an officer, for God's sake, like me sitting here, if I'm there doing nothing and I'm receiving salary on a monthly basis, taxpayers' money, I'm doing nothing, and every day they are complaining, action has to be taken. If actions are not taken, there's something is wrong somewhere. So some of those actions could be administrative, others could be recovery, as we normally hear. But the aspect of recovery, this is my personal view again, I always ask. 1 Leone Fabian yesterday is no longer the 1 Leone today. 1 Leone last year is no longer the 1 Leone today. Even if that 230 million, if it is recovered, can it render the services that it was supposed to render in 2023? The answer is definitely no. So all of these are things that we should be thinking about. It's not just a matter of waiting for those audit exceptions to come and then we start giving excuses. But that's the area. There are sanctions, there are penalties, and those are the things even PAC is enforcing. When you hear of the PAC hearings, right there they will say, go and pay this, do this, and all the rest of it. But somebody somewhere has to actually take action.
The audit service side is by extension an arm within Parliament. But again, is the audit service so far pleased with the manner to which the recommendations have been dealt with by Parliament?
No, Parliament is not dealing with the recommendation. Parliament deliberates on the report. Recommendations are actually the responsibility of the individual institution. The process is very clear, and in those institutions, there are people responsible for those recommendations. Let's say an example, AYP. You may have the managing director, who is the top, the CEO, for example, who is there, but all of you have individual responsibilities. If you are defecting in your own role, it will impact on the operations of this entity. That's what you do. So when I come here, I pinpoint responsibility on each and everybody who should do what. So if year in, year out, for example, when we produce the report, whose head is on the newspaper? Who said in your head? That is when I read it. The whole head government. The president, his head is on the newspaper because he is the chief accounting officer. But he has responsible officers. That's why he appoints cabinet, he has ministers, and in those ministries you have directors, you have permanent secretaries. So the responsibility is everybody. It is everybody. It's not just one person. Even Parliament will be producing their report. They have been producing reports because I've worked with them for years. They produce reports, and even in those reports, you have recommendations again that have to be implemented. By who? By the same institution. So it is something that we have to take serious, and for audit exceptions to change, audit exceptions to reduce, it means individual people in those institutions that are being audited needs to take responsibility, and they need to take the audit work with every seriousness. That's my view, and that's the view of ASSL. Actions, recommendations, yeah, because if really you are doing the thing, because in fact our conclusion of late is that they only address those issues because they are being called to parliament or anti-corruption is with them. Because if year one have come into this institution and you never know, according to them, you never know that you can get receipt when you use this office money to buy a bottle of water, you can get receipt year one, no problem, and you are in parliament, they told you year one, okay fine, next year you make sure you would. If you have not done it just to satisfy parliament or anti-corruption, then definitely you now know that. You learn from there, a learning process, right? You learn that, oh okay, last year these people came and receipt was not there, I have to get receipt. If you have challenges in getting the receipt, communicate to the relevant authorities that I cannot get receipt because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. But people sit, they wait, and these are the repetitive things coming. Take contract management, for example. The procurement thing that we highlighted, the money that relates to contract management, we actually did procurement in these institutions, compliance audit. Contract, how can you award a contract? And this contract has terms of contract. The only thing you are interested in paying the contractor money, but you now fail to follow up on whether the services have been rendered. We have to be honest with ourselves. And we sit, even the fourth estate, we sit. When things are not happening, you highlight it. These are the why reason. You highlight it. The children are not getting books, supply. Free quality healthcare is not there. The free quality education, the children are not getting books. But in the audit report, there is a contract that was there awarded to a supplier for him or her to supply books. And this is not coming. So you see the impact, it's impact on your own children because they will have got those books and acquire knowledge. So, but if you just focus on the 200 or 300 million money, the contractor will now say, okay, look at your money. With the 200 or 300 million, buy the same quantity of books for those? The answer is definitely no. Those monies, if they can be there today, they will not.
Do you think we need now to levy beyond just, paying back the money, interest rate?
The good thing about Sierra Leone, our laws are very good. It's just action.
Many on paper.
They are there. The laws are there. Even when you fail to address like those delay payments, delay payments, the laws are there. You collect revenue and you fail to pay on time based on what the law says. What should happen after? It is there. So it's just a matter of one day somebody somewhere will just sit and say, quote unquote, I know, it no matter what will happen with me, I don't care. And then you just take action, and whoever has to rule, or if people are going to die, they die. If people are going to survive, those that are dead, if they are going to rise, they rise. When somebody sees that, my brother, I think something will happen. But as it is, as an institution, we want everybody. People want to go to America, they want to go to England. You think it is magic? It is not magical. They have systems and processes, and they follow those processes and systems. And those have been as a result of audit exercises that have been done on them over the years, and people take actions on the recommendations. The whole thing is just take action. The simple recommendation that I made, just take action. We will get there.
I was just perusing through paragraph 29, page 111 of the GTT report in 2018 that did say that the Audit Service Sierra Leone is, of course, probably Sierra Leone's most effective institution. Is it still that effective institution?
We are going every day. That GTT report was done when?
In 2018.
2018 to now, my brother. I have analyzed some of the successes that we've done. 2018 to now, no. If you can do another assessment of Israel, it will be on another scale. Probably not. We talk of planet now. Maybe we'll be on Mars. We'll be somewhere else. Look at the donor confidence. If an institution, Sierra Leone, we should be proud of ourselves. Hey, brother, say the king honor in your land. We should be proud of ourselves. An institution of Audit Service Sierra Leone, with the trajectory of where we were some 10, 20 years ago and where we are now today, we should be proud of ourselves. We should say kudos to Sierra Leone. Because we are not only representing Sierra Leone, the job that we do is not only Sierra Leone, we are also rendering services. Look at the donor interest that is now there. I told you, the Gavi. Gavi is a donor interest that is there, this immunization. Their audit was done by somebody coming from Geneva to do it. When we took over that audit 2 years ago, my brother, is another story all over. Look at the Global Fund. Their audit was done by external firms that come from Ghana. They come and do this audit. When Gavi went and IFAD went and they said, the job that Audit Service is doing, the report that we saw in 2020, the report that we saw in 2022, these guys, an MOU has been signed. We take over Global Fund audit. Look at ADB. They were having their projects here, and based on the portfolio that they were having in this country, it was just about 4 audits that was given to Audit Service for them to do. But after delivering on those 4 audits, when the output was delivered to them, they said, oh, these are the things that we want. Take over our audit. Others are coming. Others, you said, they are coming. In fact, our worry now is that's why we are pleading with government for manpower. Because this builds the CV of Sierra Leone. This we are not just doing it for Audit Service Sierra Leone, but it builds the CV of Sierra Leone. Because if Sierra Leone is to now present itself somewhere as a country, then those are the things you put in there. It builds the donor confidence. So we have grown past that. When you think of 2018, we are having backlog audit. Now we talk of, look at the audit that we just produced, all 2020. And there's a chapter in there, I think one of the part 3 of this audit report. You have the public enterprises and donor supported project. It is there, it is a headline chapter there. So we bring that out so that people know that we are not just doing those ministries, department agencies, but we are also doing jobs that are outside the thinking of Sierra Leoneans. It's not just those small ministries that we are looking at. And this is what we need to do. Look at the 22 local councils. In as much as their location where they are, but we try as much as possible to go there, because people live there. We go to Bont Island, because these are the unique area, Falaba. You can tell somebody go to Bont Island, hey, whether they go cross water. But as auditors, we don't sit in Freetown and tell them to. No, we go and feel as they feel as well. What are their challenges? What are their concerns? And their performance is increasing based on the opinion that the Auditor General gives on the account that they submit. Their performance is increasing, is encouraging, because over the period for 22 local councils, there are some period when we audit, like in the previous year we audit, you have exceptions of up to 10 not doing well. But this year, it's only 1 or 2 that are to catch up. So these are the deliverables that we are giving, and all of these, the beauty around it is that we are not just looking at the figures, but we are also looking at the services that are being delivered to the people of Sierra Leone. That's the more reason you don't just give us paper in Freetown and we sit in Freetown and wait. No. When you give us papers in Freetown and you say you've rendered services as far as Balamuya, or render services in Kailan or Zimimakwele or my small village called Gofo Dama, what I will do, we will now take the resources and go there. We only conclude on those exercises after we satisfy ourselves that yes, the monies have been used for the intended purposes. So that's the services that all these services do.
Morie, thank you very much for your time this morning to join us. We would have you in subsequent editions to continue the conversation. He's Morie Lansana, Acting Deputy Auditor General, and we've been discussing the audit report by the Audit Service, Sierra Leone.